Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and this is my, well, it's an early prediction for the Keith Thurman Danny Garcia fight. When this fight was first talked about, I thought that Keith Thurman definitely was the strong favourite. As the fight started to get a bit closer, I saw it as a bit more even. I thought that Danny Garcia was well up for it. I thought that he just seemed to have a real kind of fire inside him. I think that maybe all this talk of him being a cherry picker, him getting gift decisions, I think it kind of got up his nose a bit, and I think he was really wanting to prove people wrong. You know, you saw after the Samuel Vargas fight when he was in the ring with Thurman, he looked really pumped up, and he really looked like he was up for it. Because I do remember, I think it was after the Lucas Matisse fight. At that point, Danny Garcia had a very good reputation in boxing. He had a very good record. He fought a lot of people. Quite a few times he'd been the underdog. And yeah, he was very well respected all around the way. He was definitely very respected in the UK, in America, everywhere. He was very respected. Since then, he's just gone a bit downhill, hasn't he? He's had the Mauricio Herrera fight in Puerto Rico, which most people think he lost. And they thought it was a cherry pick before then as well. What's his name? Lamont Peterson. Again, a lot of people thought he lost that fight. He fought Rod Salka. Then he came up to welterweight, and as that loudmouth mug Angel Garcia would say, he was made a champion. He talks about, Danny's the difference. He's a real champion. There's a made champion. I mean, he fought for a vacant belt against Robert Guerrero. And he wants to talk about other people being made champions. So, yeah, that was kind of that is his current state, isn't it, within boxing? That's his image. So he's gone from, sort of hero to zero in I don't know how many years. But, yeah, I think he was starting to get a bit fed up of it. And I got the impression that he was up for really proving himself again. Keith Thurman, I thought... he's well up for it, possibly a bit too up for it, which is something I've noticed with Keith Thurman. I'm not saying that he is, I'm not saying he's a bully, but he does seem to be very enthusiastic about fighting certain people more so than others. Now, I'm not saying that's because he doesn't fancy his chance against other people, but he's got this reputation, KOs for life. One time Keith Thurman. So I think he really wants to fight certain people, and he seems a lot more keen on some fights than others. So for example, the Paulie Malignaggi, he was very belligerent about that. He was like, "You better not duck me, son." And he was, he's well into it, very belligerent, very aggressive. He was much more enthusiastic about unifying with Danny Garcia than with Kell Brook. Now you can say that it's probably more money. I understand all of that, but I'm talking about his sort of attitude towards it. He was very keen on that unification fight with Danny Garcia, someone who I think he sees as a much softer touch. Amir Khan, he was very keen to fight Amir Khan. Very vocal about it. He wasn't that keen to fight Sean Porter, not like he was with Amir Khan. Do you know what I mean? He did fight Sean Porter, so I'm not saying that he's scared of them or anything like that, but I notice a difference in his attitude towards fights with people like Amir Khan, Danny Garcia, Paulie Malignaggi than you do with the likes of Kell Brook, Sean Porter. Errol Spence, another one. You don't ever hear him really talking about him, and I understand that he's a champion and Errol Spence is a contender, so it's not really for him to be going around chasing contenders. But I'm just saying, it's been brought up a few times with the Floyd Mayweather, saying I should fight him, and he's not as aggressive towards certain people as others, is where I'm going with it. So the point of that, why I think that's relevant, is that may cause him to fight in a slightly more reckless style than he would do against one of them. Now, the fact that he's been so keen to fight Danny Garcia, and his body language and the way he speaks to him, the way he was in the ring, it looks to me like he really wants to get in there and just put it on him, which, for me, is the only chance really Danny Garcia has of winning the fight. That's why I say it. I think Keith Thurman he's a lot quicker on his feet. He's boxes well on the back foot. He's got fast hands, and he's got quite good movement. I mean, it's kind of a bit. You could say he wastes a bit of energy sometimes, and it's not the most efficient. But at the same time, it's very quick, and he's able to use the ring quite well. Now, I think if he did that against Danny Garcia, I think he could make it an easy night's work for himself. I think Danny Garcia is quite. He doesn't have the. He does like throw quite good combinations as kind of counters. He's got kind of a counter puncher with combinations. Do you know what I mean? If that makes any sense. He throws like those hooks. I mean, they're typical. You know what he's going to do, but at the same time, they're quite difficult to avoid because he's throwing them from both sides. And he's like upstairs, downstairs, left, right, boom, boom. So it's not easy to avoid them. Even if you can block and slip a couple of them, you're going to get hit with one or two of them. So he does have that. He's quite slow on his feet and flat-footed. I don't think that Keith Thurman really would have that much trouble with it. If he was to just kind of box on the back foot, and when he does get into exchanges with him, I think he's got faster hands. He's also got good combinations, and he is a good, like, hard counterpuncher, Keith Thurman. But he's good at walking people onto them as well. He can walk you onto a big hook or uppercut, kind of quite looping punches sometimes. He doesn't have a particularly good straight punches, or at least he doesn't use them very often. He tends to throw those big hooks, uppercuts, overhand rights. So I think that if he does get into these exchanges with Danny Garcia, then I definitely think he's able to hold his own. I mean, in terms of who's a harder puncher, it's difficult really to say because none of them are particularly proven, in my opinion, as like big punchers. I mean, Keith Thurman has got quite a high knockout ratio. He's obviously got a decent punch on him, but he hasn't really knocked out anyone of real note. Do you know what I mean? When he fought like Sean Porter, and he's had a few other fights recently, Robert Guerrero even, he couldn't knock these people out. So he does have a hard punch, but Danny Garcia has shown to me that he's got a pretty good chin. He's pretty tough. Whether he's tough enough to take these punches from someone, I don't know. He's kind of. I'm undecided on that, but I think from what I've seen that they probably got similar kind of punching. I think Keith Thurman's more explosive, but Danny Garcia is more measured. He can sit there and he can like kind of pick you off, and he can time it quite well to get you with a big hook. I don't know where Keith Thurman gets this reputation from, that he's vulnerable. I mean, he got hit with a very, very good punch in the body once. He didn't even go down. And it was against Sean Porter as well. I think there was a time when he got backed up with a punch. I mean, it's boxing. Do you know what I mean? You get punched sometimes, and they do hurt. It's not like, now Keith Thurman, he's really vulnerable, and he hasn't just turned into Amir Khan overnight. Do you know what I mean? He's, from what I can see, pretty tough. He's obviously got a lot of heart, and I don't see this as being that he's just going to get hit a couple of times in the body, and that's potentially he's going to be out of the fight. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Danny Garcia hasn't shown me anything to suggest that he's able to be the man to do that either. So that's why I think Keith Thurman might come potentially unstuck if he goes in there too confident, thinking that I really want to put it on this bloke and get a knockout, because I haven't had a knockout for a while. And this is someone I've always wanted to fight, someone I think is basically easy. And I think what might happen, he might go in there with that attitude, but I think he'll find out soon enough that Danny Garcia, first of all, he's pretty tough. He did take a step back quite a lot against Lucas Matisse, but that's because Lucas Matisse is he's a lot more basic than Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman's mixing up the angles. I think Danny Garcia's not going to find it as easy to retreat, basically, as he did with Lucas Matisse. He's not going to find it as easy to wrap him up either. So I think he's going to stand and fight with him. I also think he probably thinks that Thurman is more vulnerable than Matisse, so he's probably going to think, right, I'm going to let a few big hooks go, see if I can hurt him to the body. And I think that Keith Thurman is going to change tactics. I think he's going to then decide to use movement and just outbox him. And if he does hit him with something, and he does stagger him, then he'll go for the kill. But I think the sensible tactic for Keith Thurman would be to use movement and like kind of fighting a bit like an ambush fighter, a bit like David Haye sort of style, but more, with a bit more variety to him. When he does come in, he can hit Garcia with some hard shots, and he can win rounds through a combination of, activity, through being, sort of boxing and moving, but also landing some very solid shots when you pick and choose your spots. That's what I think is going to happen. I don't see, it's possible, it could be a knockout. I don't think it'll be a knockout. I think it'll be 12 rounds. I think Thurman should win. I think Thurman will win on points. Should win being the operative word. We've seen Danny Garcia get a couple of questionable decisions in the past. So who knows? If the plan is for Danny Garcia to fight Floyd Mayweather, because I tell you now, Floyd Mayweather would much rather fight Danny Garcia than Keith Thurman. I think we can all agree on that. That would be a very easy fight for him stylistically. Keith Thurman would be more of a challenge. So, I mean, it's a bit of a conspiracy theory, but I'm hoping that we get a fair decision. And if we do, then I think Keith Thurman's going to win on points. Possible fact, I mean, I sort of talked briefly about the press conference the other day with Angel Garcia, once again making a complete dog's dick of himself. I don't know how that's going to affect the fight. To be honest with you, people are saying, it's sort of like mind games and all this. I don't think it's mind games. I don't think he's... Well, obviously this isn't exactly like, really impressive mind games there, mate, like, having a go at someone. But I don't think so. I personally think that Angel Garcia, he's the kind of character that when he feels threatened, he gets quite aggressive. I think we saw it with Lucas Matisse. He was going mental in that. He was really... I saw the Amir Khan. It was the first time I came across him. It was the Amir Khan fight, and my first impression was that he's a complete prick. And to be honest with you, my opinion of him has been going downhill ever since. The Lucas Matisse fight, he was going on about immigrants and they all want to be American, like when they sign the check and all that, just a load of madness. So really, he just came across like a real nasty piece of work. And he seemed very threatened by Lucas Matisse, and that was why he was going so mad. I'm trying to think of another example of him doing it to that extent, because we've seen him with Keith Thurman. I think he's very, very worried about Keith Thurman. I think he sees him as a real threat, which is why he's reacting like he is. And he's trying to kind of convince himself. Do you know what I mean? Like he's overcompensating. That's what it seems like to me, for the fact that he sees this. He's quite worried about Keith Thurman. So he's really trying to hype himself up, trying to hype Danny up. And to me, that's what it is. Apparently, he's not going to be at the press conferences again. I think they said he's going to be banned from. Good, in my opinion. I'm sick of the bloke, to be honest with you. I like trash talking. I like, for example, Tyson Fury. Very funny. I like Jarrell Miller. He's funny. I like Muhammad Ali. I like that kind of stuff, witty trash talk. There's nothing funny about Angel Garcia. It's literally just offensive. And I don't know. How old is this bloke as well? I mean, he's about 60 years old or something? And he's there sort of trying, you bitch ass, N-word and all this. I mean, pathetic to me. I mean, I don't really, I just see him as an embarrassment. People are saying that. I mean, I don't know I've seen a few videos. I watched some American channels. I'm on a couple of Facebook groups, and I get the impression that there's kind of a debate going on about whether his use of the N-word. And some people saying, it's just kind of where he's from. He's that kind of character. I mean, I don't know about any of that. So, but from my perspective, from a kind of outsider's perspective. From a kind of ignorant perspective, I suppose you could say, looking at it, I didn't particularly like it. To me, it seemed it didn't have a very nice undertone. And if nothing else, it was very, very inappropriate in that environment. Do you know what I mean? People watching it, people saying, he's from, he's a sort of Puerto Rican from Philadelphia, blah, blah, blah. You see it. Maybe in a certain context, some people can understand that, but to me, watching it from England and seeing him, getting all abusive, using the N-word, it didn't look. It looked pretty bad. If you don't really understand like how that is according to him or what's acceptable, it's not a good image. I don't think. I don't think it's appropriate for a press conference either. I mean, this is something that's being shown to people all around the world. So I think for some 60-year-old cretin to be going on like that, personally, I've just had enough of the bloke. I don't really want to hear anything from him. I just hope that he just sort of sits down and shuts up somewhere and stays out of it. I do feel bad really for Danny Garcia, because I mean I like Danny Garcia. He comes across to me as a real class act. Really, he comes across a really good bloke, but he's just got this pillock just there speaking for him all the time, just like some embarrassing drunk uncle kind of character. Do you know what I mean? Just there all the time. I do feel sorry for Danny Garcia, because I do like him, but it makes me want him to lose. Really, I remember the Amir Khan fight. I really wanted to see Amir Khan beat the fuck out of him, to be honest with you, just because of the way his dad was talking about, like, sort of flying carpets, really distasteful stuff. Really, like loads of kind of references to Muslims and stuff like that. And he's done this to Lucas Matisse. Now he's doing this. So I did actually see an interview with Danny Garcia, and then Angel hijacked it, started talking a lot of rubbish. And you could see Danny Garcia, he was literally like this, just looked really embarrassed. So I don't know. I don't really know Danny Garcia, but if that was me, and obviously my dad wouldn't be coming out with that kind of stuff, but if he did, and he was there, I'd just tell him, listen mate, leave it out. This is, you're an embarrassment. So, yeah. So whether that's going to have an effect on the fight, I don't know. I don't think so. I think Keith Thurman is quite an intelligent, I think he's very intelligent, very kind of calculated analyst of a fighter. And to be honest with you, I think this actually might help. Like, my original concern that Keith Thurman was quite keen to fight certain types of people, I think this might make him think, this is obviously what they want, and I'm going to really stay focused, and I'm not going to get just caught up and give Danny Garcia a chance of winning. I think he's going to punish him. I think he's going to want to knock him out, but I think he's going to do it in quite a well-measured way. That's how I see it. So yeah, I'm going for Keith Thurman on points. Wouldn't be that surprised if Danny Garcia wins. I mean, he's won before when he's the underdog. I'm definitely not writing him off. I mean, he's a good fighter, but I don't think that he's as good at welterweight as he was back then, light welterweight. And I think Keith Thurman is, a very good fighter. I think he'd be too much for him. So yeah, that's how I see it. So let me know what you lot think, and thank you very much for watching.